Gents Lounge. Hello, hello. All right, here we go. Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, good almost evening or early afternoon, depending on where you are, or morning, wherever you are in the world. We're about to paint John Pickens from Louisiana. He owns a nice little boutique clothier, actually right on I-20, right between Atlanta and Dallas. In Shreveport, I've driven through there actually quite a few times, visiting my wife back when we were just dating and when we were fiancéed. And then I met John at Project in Vegas. So here we go. We're going to use this nice, beautiful fine brush again. If you were watching earlier today, you would have seen that we were choosing between this brush and this brush. And this one is such a small fraction compared to that one there. We're going to go with the small brush again because I love, let me show you guys what happened earlier today. I love how this piece turned out. So this is what we painted earlier today. That's me wearing Beautiful Fool over in LA. And now we're going to paint John Pickens. I already did the drawing here. Now we're going to go ahead and get started. Just wearing a simple, clean jacket. Rob, good to have you back. Sorry you had to leave early last time. All right. Hello, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining. And this fine brush is already creating such beautiful lines. Gosh, I love it so much. We can get such great variety with this brush, which is really nice, especially with menswear. There's a lot that's so much the same from one jacket to the next, one outfit to the next. So if I can create some visual interest by pushing the line weight or the colors, we can do some really interesting things and making the clothing look really appealing and different just by adjusting the weight of a mark. Having that thicker line here and a thicker line here and a thin line there allows us to play with the visual interest. And this is already looking dope. Got a nice clean pocket square. It's got an interesting design piece, or not, the pocket square and then the tie bar here. Pretty simple, nice and clean. It's got the full look going on. And I love this, the way the paintbrush kind of fades out as the water is lost in the brush. Gorgeous marks along here. And I'm gonna try to anchor this shoulder over here. So we're gonna do some thicker lines. We're gonna add a lot more ink to the brush. It's just gonna be this small section. We're gonna make that a little bit thicker. Thank you for the love. We really anchored that shoulder down really, really well. Killing it. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. If you guys are interested in menswear advice at all, go ahead and check out Gents Lounge. He was just on there commenting. They answer fashion questions for men. If you want to know which is the best shoe or the best tie, what watch to wear. Fantastic. That's great to hear. Thanks for stopping by and then checking out the painting. And if you're just joining, we're painting John Pickens from Louisiana. He owns a clothier, a custom clothier down in Louisiana. He's got a really nice, just clean aesthetic. Right down there in Shreveport on I-20. Thank you, Mike the Great. Mike T the Great. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. All right, so we're gonna add a bit of detail here in the face just to give a suggestion of who it is. Do any of you know Lucius? That's who we're listening to right now, is Lucius. Love Lucius. Did you? Oh, did I? Is that a question for me there, Dimitri? I think I missed something. Ah, part of the competition. All right. How long have I been drawing? Ooh, my whole life. 26. Since I left the womb, I think. Been drawing. Painting, maybe not quite as long. I think I left the womb with pencil in hand. Well, I don't know. My eyes weren't quite developed yet. I don't know if anybody's checked. I wouldn't doubt it, though. I would not doubt it. Everybody has to start somewhere. All right, so I'm not going to worry about too many more details here in the face. We'll let some of the paint, the watercolor, kind of define more of that for us. Set a bit more here in the hair. How many paintings a day? Depends on the day. I can do, I mean, if it's one of these, daily fashion style painting, one of these things that I do for the daily fashion project, I mean, I could do 10 in a day, but then if I do a more developed painting, it might take me a week before I can finish it. So it really, really depends on what I'm working on. All right. Okay, so here's the drawing. Here's the outline. And I'm going to give this just a second to dry. What's really nice about the inks that I use is that they dry extremely fast. So it should be ready to go, but just in case, I'm going to give it a moment. We've been using Dr. P.H. Martin's Bombay Black India ink. The best ink if you want to do an illustration in this manner, especially since we're going to go over it with watercolors, which means we're going to get the page wet. We need that ink not to move around. It's waterproof, extremely light fast, dries really fast. This is one of my favorite parts. Now we have the inking done, the drawing was completed, the inking's done. Now we're just going to go ahead and start adding in some color. I'm actually going to stand up for this part, just because it's so much more exciting. Ah, thank you, thank you, thank you. George, you're too kind. All right, here we go. Oh, and you can't really see that there, but I did not wait long enough for the ink to dry. I must have applied too much, so the ink is actually getting right in the face. But it's filling in the shadow, so it's not inconvenient. And I always sing along with this song, but I'm sparing you guys because my voice is not pleasant enough for singing. All right, Eric, glad you found the Gents Lounge there. Thanks, Eric. Glad you could join us again. Oh no, wait, what happened? Is this a joke or did I completely miss something? Somebody poked a hole in a painting? Well, you heard about this too, Rob? You guys have to tell me because I am apparently clueless here. What? Punched? Oh my, wait, when did this happen and what painting was it? Wow. Oh, I'd be so embarrassed. That would be the worst. There's what painting is it? Do you know? Or is it just some random like famous painting? Oh gosh, that would be. There's a video. Yes, that proves how much I pay attention, apparently. $350 old. Jeez. Oh my gosh. Wow. Well, I'm glad it wasn't me. But somebody's going to have to share that video with me. I don't know where to find it. Somebody email me that video. Do, do, do. All right, so we have a really dark pinstripe suit here. So I'm just going to go ahead and lay in the darks here. Okay, perfect, Rob. That'll be perfect. I'm sure it's there somewhere. So I'm using a lot of water for this part. Should create a really interesting texture. Now I'm just going to take some clean water and Go over the edges. Make it a little bit more interesting. Alright, so we're mostly going to have to let that sit for a minute. I'm going to add a little bit more detail in the face, a little more detail in the hair. There's some really cool white streaks. Very sophisticated white streaks in the hair. Ooh, shading is really difficult. It always looks darker when you put it on and dries so much brighter. So that's something to remember. Or maybe you put too much color. I guess that's possible. Yeah, start much brighter and then build up the values from there. But with a painting like this one, I'm not worried too much about details. And it gets muddy. Oh man, it took me a long time to knock that off. Really, you have to train yourself, Rob. It's all about paying attention and forcing yourself to stop. Yeah. Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. Hate that. Yeah. It's really about being very mindful. I did just watch Star Wars yesterday, so I'm using the word mindful. Oh, but see, Copic there's nothing wrong with that. Copic is great. They make great products to create amazing images. So if you're using Copic, you should cheer that, celebrate that. Watercolor is just another animal altogether. You mean you paint a lot of faces, Rob? Sometimes, okay. Pencil is a great place to start. It's a great baseline. Starting with pencil, moving up to paints. We just have to ruin really cheap paper first, and then work up to ruining nice paper. That's how I started. I started with really, really cheap watercolor paper, and then moved on to slightly less cheap watercolor paper, and then experimented on really nice watercolor paper. Mostly now I use products that are right in between really nice and really cheap. Especially with illustration, it doesn't have to be on amazing, amazing paper. Just something that will allow you to tell the story that you want to tell. Oh, ooh, yeah, the book pages. So Rob, what I do with the book pages is I make sure they're really old, because old book pages have so much more body to them and texture, where all the new ones are very thin, very plasticky. The old ones are very much used paper, like actual paper. So I would suggest painting on really old book pages. Don't use nearly as much water as you might on watercolor paper, because they can't handle quite as much. But really, it's not that much different than painting on maybe 140-pound watercolor paper. It's a very similar experience, in my opinion. Yeah. Somebody sent me a really, really thin paper It was almost like just like really thin plastic. Oh, it wrinkles horribly. Yeah, that definitely go get something that's maybe pre 1970s. And you can usually find those at a vintage bookstore, old books at your library that they don't want anymore. Online, you can get them for really cheap. And use those pages. They're so much better. You mean turning them out of the book? Yeah, I mean you just gotta live with it, I guess. Just know that what you're doing is trying to create something new and not trying to destroy something old. That's how I look at it. Creating a new creation with the book. I'm recycling it, giving it new life. Do, 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 do. Yeah, if you could see this painting up close. You could see in a couple areas I'm starting to get muddy just because I keep adding color and I shouldn't be. Okay, we're getting right near to the end here, so we're going to add the stripes in the jacket. Mostly we're just going to suggest where the stripes are, and we don't need to worry too much. Actually, I'm going to add a little bit more shading in here. Oh man, yeah, but don't grab too vintage of a book. Somebody will yell at you. I'm going to go ahead and add a bit more shadowing before we go in and add in the stripes. Mm-hmm. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the love. So, okay, here we are. John Pickens again, from Shreveport, Louisiana. Sometimes I just make a decision. I don't want it to look perfect. So, Rob asked why. Rob Star asked why I didn't draw in this line here, paint in this line here. Really, I want some areas to disappear. I want some things to stand out, some things that don't matter that much. I can just let go. That line didn't matter to me. I figured the composition would be just fine with a black line here and a black line here, a little bit of detail there, and it didn't need anything here. This, I like the shape, so I wanted to define that. I just kind of let that one go. So those are some of the decisions you're going to have to make if you ever do these sorts of illustrations. Yeah, and the shadow along the collar suggests the line enough. But at the same time, paying attention to details is really important. Let's take, while I'm waiting for that jacket to dry, let's take a look here. This painting is all about detail. It's about finding every line. It's about finding as much shadow, as much of the stitching, everything as possible. I wish I could move it a little bit closer so you can see the texture. I don't know how well that shows up on Periscope. But it's about finding the hairs in the face and all of the little details. I'll have to show you this process. Actually, I think if you go to Periscope, my Periscope playlist on YouTube, you'll see that the process I use for that type of painting. This is the same thing. So the background does go on first. It's a big wash of color, but this is all about the detail. So some paintings I'm looking to really define them, to really pull out as much detail as possible. And then on other paintings like these, I'm really just trying to suggest something. I'm really trying to capture the spirit of this image. It's about the aesthetic and not about the details. Alright, so right now I'm mixing a really dark color here for this fashion portrait. And this is going to be our stripes. And I'm using a smaller, stiffer brush to go ahead and lay in these striped areas on the jacket. And I'm not worried about being perfect here. There's no need to be perfect. Really, it's all about the aesthetic. It's all about suggesting what's going on in the image. Because you can tell that this is a striped jacket, but you don't need to know exactly how wide the stripes are. It doesn't matter. My wife does paint. She doesn't like drawing as much, but she loves to paint. She's a children's book illustrator, actually. And you can follow her. She's Ruth Maharg on Periscope. She occasionally does her process as well, which is a bit more complicated than mine. Oh, it is really amazing that we got really lucky in finding each other, being able to both be creatives. She does, yeah. You can follow. She doesn't use it nearly as often, but she's Ruth Maharg, Ruthmehharg. Alrighty. Fantastic. Thank you. She'll love that. And you'll catch a whole new technique from her, which is amazing. Okay, so this is the John Pickens illustration. I'm actually going to add a little bit of white on here. We will definitely be best friends. We can all get together and paint, or at least talk about art. You can help us learn Italian. All right, so I just got this white gouache prepared, and this is where the painting really comes to life. Oh, we're at South Africa. I'm going to be going to South Africa in November. November or February, but probably November. Oh, okay, I'll be in Cape Town. But that's really awesome, yeah. Okay, that's what I'm hoping, that it will be amazing. I'll be going there for an event. I'll be actually painting on book pages while I'm there. Yeah, it's really serendipitous. That's amazing how all that worked out. Oh, what? Okay, then you'll have to come to Cape Town and say hello. That would be amazing. Yeah, please let me know. Instagram or email or something. Because we'll need to meet up. That would be amazing. Awesome. I added a little bit of white highlight to his eyes, but I think I made him have vacant eyes. Hair on point. His hair is dope. You should see it in the real life. Okay. This is the painting for today. John Pickens. Again, we're in like a John Pickens custom clothier. I'm not really going to put any more white highlights. I kind of suggested the white on the lapels. And then the stripes on the jacket are suggested. I'm just going to leave it like this. I really like just the simplicity, the suggestive nature. And it's very just focused on the aesthetics. It's really focused on the bust. The lapels, the tie, and the face. And the rest of the jacket is there to support the entire painting. That's fashion inspiration for you. Menswear illustration. Thanks for following along. Thanks for the shout outs, Gents Lounge. You've been amazing. Love the support. Thank you, Rob Star. Hopefully we'll meet in South Africa if you're there in November and we're there at the same time. I need to join you on a Periscope sometimes there, George, and ask my own questions. All right. Peace out. I will talk to you guys more tomorrow. We'll have more painting tomorrow. All right. See ya.